The truth is that women don't. They always return because they are missing you. They don't come back because they abruptly understand how important you are to them. And they don't crawl back, for sure, because they've fallen head over heels in a beautiful way. No, the fact is much more complex than that. Intricate, and for the majority of males, it will sting. Women frequently return after no contact due to a single, strong force losing control when you interrupt her. You break her senses when you really cut her off, of power in the dynamic relationship. No breadcrumbs, no texts, no calls. It's as if you turn the page and all of a sudden, you're not pursuing that shift anymore. Disturbs her, since like everyone else, she seeks the approval she's accustomed to receiving, the one drawing attention to themselves. When that authority's gone, the strings makes me afraid that you've moved on. Dread that she has been snatched by someone else, worry that she's not the same. This is where it gets, in your opinion, significantly more contentious. For the majority of women are not returning for you. Instead, they're returning for the lost power. It's not about your wonderful disposition, but appearance or achievement. It all depends on how. When you're not pursuing them, they sense that sense of lack. The gap you've produced compels people to take action. And this is many men blow it at this, which is the kicker. Stage she calls, messages, or appears outside of. You fall somewhere and believe it's love, returning to previous routines and pleading for her being too readily available, or admitting your emotions. Interestingly, that's just what she desired, that she regains control. And when the game resets, no contact is functional. But since the majority of men believe it's not psychology if you comprehend it, the true reasons why women come back to you simply possess the ability to retrieve her. You will be in charge of determining whether you even desire her. She misses the strength she once possessed. Over you, when a female is in charge of this gives her a sense of power, guy. Dynamic is delicate yet incredibly genuine, as long as since she is aware that she may set the terms of the partnership, regardless of how much work or how often do you get in touch with her. She feels the effort you make to win her over. Safeguard the authority she has over you. Offers her self-assurance. When that authority is abruptly removed, she must confront an awkward reality that she lacks, no longer have control. This is where the contact rule functions like magic. She must now pursue after ceasing to do so. The validation she previously received, so you can easily stop giving her the emotional reaction she anticipates that you've made the effort to text and call. She is disturbed by this shift and leaves. From having authority over she doesn't pace to be in the dark. Understand what you're doing in your current location or person you're speaking with initially. She may love the area, but eventually she'll begin to question whether he misses me. The longer you remain, the more you think about me. The more silent she is, the stronger the draw gets. May even get in touch to test the waters, to test whether you'll react similarly. The purpose of this test is not to rekindle. Fundamentally, it's about taking back control. Sarah Mark was lost, and Mark was, it's usually me who texts Sarah. Plans and demonstrating his concern when Sarah stopped making the effort, was constantly after her. But then Mark made the decision to stop texting, ceased phoning, and did not respond to her. Sarah, accustomed to receiving his attention so quickly, started to sense the shift. She was no longer in control. Weeks later, she made contact, but she didn't convey her longing for him. She wished to check if he would continue to pursue it. Was about her, not about him. Having a sense of control once more, you give up pursuing, and it drives the minute you give up chasing. You upset the dynamic woman. She's grown accustomed to many ladies being pursued, enhances their feeling of worth, and desirability, gives them comfort in knowing that your world revolves around them. But when you abruptly give up pursuing, it's like changing a mental switch. She's no longer certain about her position, and that uncertainty makes her insane. Her safety net was attention at all times, reminding me of your effort or text call that she held significance for you. But when you take yourself out of the equation, she begins to have an emotional vacuum that she might not have valued your unwavering presence in the past. But now she observes the silence that is more powerful than words, because she is forced to face what she's lost. Giving up the pursuit also changes the power dynamics. She's accustomed to being the one followed you while you were on the defensive. However, she's now in a strange place. Instead, who is he pursuing and why doesn't he? She no longer gives a damn about those thoughts. And the notion that you're uninterested gets intolerable. So she starts to overanalyze the replaying circumstance discussions and pondering whether she made the incorrect action. Consider James, and Emily. James was the one who always started intends to contact Emily and give her a bath. With praise Emily enjoyed that didn't feel the need to pay attention, return the favor since she thought James would one day always be there. James stopped, didn't text or call, and failed to respond to her remarks on social media. Emily initially dismissed it, presuming he would return, but as the days went by, she began to doubt things after a few weeks. Why had James stopped pursuing her? Started to continuously check her phone, pondering whether he had finally moved on. She made contact with a nonchalant justification, only to regain his interest for it wasn't about playing games, James, was about recovering his worth and revealing to Emily what she had stolen for. Given 3 days without communication, she feels like though she's losing control rattles when there is no contact. The stability of a woman in the dynamic control in their relationship for her is about more than just manipulation. Ability to determine when she is aware of when and how you'll reply to texts. Your concern for her makes her feel assurance as soon as you quit expressing that certainty disappears, because it makes her uncomfortable to think about regarding it as long as you're free. She is aware of where she is, and you are an open book, standing without having to consider your goals. But after you vanish, she is left perplexed as to what does he think that he has moved on. Still give a damn, these inquiries start to control her thoughts due to your attentional pattern is predictable. Gone the sense of being out of control is not only unnerving, it's annoying. She's accustomed to you being, perhaps a bit too predictable, eager, but now you've changed the course of events. She is no longer able to read you, and that generates a feeling of urgency all of a sudden that you have the ball. And it is up to her to figure out how can she get back on track. It's not simply about feelings, it's also about pride. No people enjoy feeling as though they've lost influence over a former encircled their finger. When you discontinue the contact you're giving her without uttering an uncontrollable word, you have regained your authority by not playing the game according to her rules. This puts her in a difficult situation. On one hand, she may feel as though she does not wish to pursue you after all. Who is interested? Acknowledging that they have lost control of however, the quiet you've brought about gnaws at her, indicating that you're not putting her first anymore is a blow to her self-esteem, and if she's knowing this, she will feel obliged to restore the connection merely to reclaim her feeling of mastery. This is the reason why so many ladies come back. After no communication, it's not always about missing you or about love. Regaining control and stability they experienced when you were pursuing them. Taking a step back, you've added a challenge she wasn't prepared for, and it's one that she feels compelled to solution for, since she can't bear to be supplanted, one of the most influential causes a lady to come back after no. The fear of being replaced is contact. When you cease contacting them, it indicates to her that perhaps you're moving on. Even noticing this thinking in another person alone makes her feel panicked. She can manage distance, but someone's concept, someone else taking up the area she used to occupy is, you have been the focal point of her intolerable focus and the notion that you could go on so quickly that she starts to doubt her own value, which hurts, she could tell herself. She's okay with not needing you or that, although it's not a huge deal. She wants to know if you're really over her. Or worse, if someone has already been found fresh to take her place. Women flourish on feeling wanted. But as soon as she realizes that the man she has been seeing has either physically or emotionally moved on, it sets up an instinct for competition. It's about proving, not always about love, that you still find value in her, does not wish to lose the position she once held. Kept this dread in your life, replacement is frequently more drastic than any other emotion. It compels her to take action, even if it's only. She might get in touch to see how things go, attempting to elicit a response from you, or she may begin quietly checking in on you. Checking to verify if you've moved on from the basic, the fact that she perceives the potential for, She feels the need to re-enter after being replaced. The image frequently in an effort to reaffirm her status as the person you most important thing in this situation is that, like everyone else, ladies have a strong need to feel indispensable when they perceive that they could be replaced by another person. Makes one feel insecure and that she feels insecure and decides to go back. Sometimes without even recognizing it, because she is unwilling to confront the being replaced in real life, not just in your heart, but in your life as music. Well, 5, it was you who was constantly accessible. Let's have a second. A lot of males make the error of you drop everything because you're too available. You cancel plans when she texts you simply to spend time with her. You're always at the drop, paying attention to her of a hat, and even while that can seem like what she want right now, but it's not, what actually keeps her returning can be really off-putting. Here's the harsh, when the truth is too readily available. You look, women in need don't appreciate what they can have anytime they like, but they don't desire easy-to-get things while you're constantly present and accessible. Lets her know that you're dead. You're at her mercy outside of her, and call. And that man isn't the type that sparks wants you if you're always either jumping through or waiting by the phone. You've already lost trying to win her approval. The game in which you've let yourself lose into the trap of believing that one is being there for her always will make her thank you, but it only accomplishes diminish your worth. You're not a challenge. You are dependable, and you are constantly present. And that's precisely what she does not wish to be obvious, that it is not about being chilly or playing games. It's regarding living your own life plans that interest you when you're always accessible. She is aware that she can having you available anytime she needs you. And interestingly, that's precisely when she'll wake up and cease enjoying your presence. You guys need to quit treating her like your women are drawn to guys anywhere in the world. People are passionate about their own goal and their own perception of self-reliance. When you demonstrate to her she is not the center of the world, that's when she becomes aware of it. That is when she will feel compelled to return. Since she's no longer only attempting to keep things under control while attempting to win, you're back, so quit being so accessible. Awaiting her initial text message before beginning living as though you're bigger than you actually are, things to concentrate on, so she'll recognize your value and start to experience the when you're not music. She detests the quiet about 6 because it makes her vulnerable. Feelings. Silence has great power. When you don't make contact, the lack of your presence, focus, and words produces a void that is more powerful than anything else. And that silence for her can be so loud that it makes her to face emotions she has been suppressing. Women frequently use emotional indicators in exchanges to confirm their position in the life of someone when that conversation stops, even for the most disconcerting. Silence is the key, confident woman, allows for excessive thinking. She starts to question why you're not contacting you. Have you moved on? Does she lose out on accomplishing better without her? Her hold on the circumstance? These ideas aren't merely, they are invasive and unpleasant. Quietness makes her turn inside. Perhaps she may begin to understand how she misses you a lot. Women dislike you. Quiet, since it changes the emotional balance as you pursued her. She felt safe knowing that she had your focus, even if she wasn't entirely devoted. But the positions have since flipped your silence, making her confront an awkward reality that she was more concerned with than she revealed. And that insight smacks more forcefully than any dispute, or this stillness could never be resolved by confrontation. Further draws attention to one of the most neglected facets of relationships. The emotional space's power when you pull return and cease speaking with you. Allowing her time to think initially, she may appear uninterested. She may even reassure herself that she's in a better position in your absence. Yet as the days pass, the lack of interaction begins to bother her. She'll start reliving certain instances in her thinking about what went wrong, and she will eventually reach a crossroads where she must choose whether or not to go. For the majority of women, the notion of perpetual silence is unbearable quietness. Forces susceptibility for her to acknowledge feelings that were simpler to disregard when you were constantly present. That's why do many women avoid interaction in the first place? Do males dislike silence because power and control are no longer relevant? It involves handling the emotional consequences of losing a loved one. Your strength is in your silence. It frequently serves as the sole factor that makes her perceive you differently. Don't undervalue its strength. Although they detest it, 7 women adore the hunt. Let's face it, women love. I'm losing it. The hunt is exhilarating, thrilling, and yes, occasionally even a little annoying. The chase has a certain quality that raises their heart rate, but here's the portion that most guys detest: losing the pursuit. You may believe that once she's paying attention to you, the game is over, but in reality, it's never truly about apprehending her. It's about maintaining her desire to keep the chase going and preserving that feeling of mystery and challenge, which is where the majority of men screw up. They settle in after a while. They've left a lasting effect. Despite their victory, women don't want to be. In order to continue winning, they desire to believe that there is still a problem, still a goal to strive for when they no longer detect the pursuit, which you have lost interest in following them, which is when the allure begins to diminish women's affection for being the anything that someone is pursuing, because it makes them feel special and wanted, desired. But when they perceive that after it's over, they start to wonder if they are genuinely appreciated for who they are, or simply because of what they contribute to the table during the excitement of the link is made during the chase. Feel significant. That's when things turn into too simple for them to lose interest. But don't misunderstand it. Chase isn't only about having fun, or being phony is about preserving your personal life, personal goals, and personal interests, while demonstrating to her that when she recognizes that she is worth the effort, implies you're preoccupied with your personal affairs, yet continue to make time for her. She will see the pursuit is genuine and not merely a brief game. Therefore, if you would like to keep when she returns, don't just halt the chase after you believe you have her. Rather, acknowledge that women require to believe they're worthy of being pursued. The when you cease demonstrating interest, the as soon as you cease providing her with chase, is the point at when she begins to lose interest. 8. Your absence causes her to recognize that you're not in a desperate situation. Believe that being accessible at all times, or being there for her at all times, is what will show her how much you value her. But here is the actually, it's your absence that makes her recognize that you're not as desperate as it seems. Backwards correct. You would assume that consistently appearing and creating, being accessible would increase your appealing. But when you're constantly present, constantly willing to sacrifice all for her, you begin to feel as though you have nothing. Doing it better makes you seem needy. Furthermore, nobody is attracted. Let's face it. The truth is that this woman is desperate, are attracted to men with their own lives according to their own goals and priorities. When you pause and withdraw, in an attempt to get her attention, she begins to observe the distinction, which compels her to acknowledge that you're not like every other man who's always accessible to her, rather than feeling safe and the notion that she may ever arrive at you. She starts to understand that you possess bounds, which is what makes being present all the time makes you stand out. She occasionally feels as though she doesn't need to work very hard to retain you, but when you withdraw, if you force her to work for your time and focus, cause something to happen. She begins to sense within herself the absence, which serves as a reminder that if she wishes to, she must take the initiative. Retain you as soon as you cease acting like you're in a desperate attempt to win her approval. When she begins to ponder, perhaps more work has to be put into this. The worst part is that your absence makes her recognize your worth while you're not present. The moment she begins to understand that you are an individual who does not require her to believe that you are a man who is at ease being alone and has his own, who isn't depending on her for contentment, that's the type of dude who, it's not the person who drops that attracts sparks, all in order to remain in her orbit. So don't be scared to take a step back. Dreading the solitude that will result from your absence, convince her that you're not desperate, which will cause her to question what she could be. She returns after missing 9 to see if, have you ever pondered why she would chase you again? Returns after you've withdrawn. It's not necessarily about wanting or missing you. Testing is frequently necessary to reconnect, to check if you'll consider chasing again. About it after you give up pursuing it, when you take a step back and let her to approach you. making a change that causes her to doubt your degree of interest and makes her question whether you'll go after her. Perhaps once more, or if she's really lost your. Getting nice attention isn't always a deliberate choice on her part, but it's a trend that many ladies adopt after you. When you stop, you cease exerting yourself.